What is up, y'all? Fat Man Weez here, back again for another video with my angry ass dog. Oh shit. I cussed a minute into the video. Oh no. That means not as many people are gonna see my video. I think I'll survive. Alright, but in the last video, I was waxing Morty, as I do. And now, we are making our way to the 5th gym, which we have a lot of ground to cover before then. So, we are going to do a slightly slower team recap than last time. So, we got Fat Bat, the Crobat, with Screech, Leech Life, Confuse Ray, and Bite. We got Flare the Typhlosion, holding the Charcoal with Quick Attack, Surf, Smoke Screen, and Ember. We got Box Quality, the Pinsir, with Vice Grip, Focus Energy, Bind, and Seismic Toss. We got Elemental, the Eevee, with Quick Attack, Tail Whip, Sand Attack, and Growl. We got Thumpa, the Steelix, with Quick Claw. That knows Cut, Milk, Drink, Metal Claw, and Rock Thump. And then we got our smart-ass Bianca, the Quagsire, holding the Bright Power with Water Gun, Future Sight, Slam, and Recover. So, like I said, in the last video, we got our 4th gym badge, which I can't show you through here. Show you through here. Gym badge. Got 4 of them. So, and obviously you can see it on the layout too. But we're gonna make our way this way. Now we have already gotten our encounter on this area, but there is an area further, like to the left and down from here, and that will be a new encounter. But we have a bunch of trainers on our way there, and we are not going to skip them. Because as we saw, the last gym leader had a level 28 as his ace. So we're already getting to the point where it's a little sketchy, which is fine. I like playing a little dangerously. But, yes, I am a cute trainer. May I see your Pokemon? This bitch coming on to me real hard. But, at the end of last video, I was talking about some things. As I do. Because that's kind of what you do on these types of videos. And the thing I was talking about was how I always thought it was really dumb for, as a fan of something, to look at how something was done and say that's not how it was meant to be portrayed. Now, there are a lot of situations of this. The situation I am going to particularly cover, or I'm going to cover in particular, would be how you properly say that sentence, is one that I thought about making my own video on, and I might later. I doubt it, just because I don't think it's that important to say. And I also know with one of those things, most of the time that's just going to draw a lot of anger and hatred and mean comments. Not that any of my videos really get enough publicity to really receive those mean comments, so I'm not too worried about it. But what I'm going to talk about is a common... I don't want this. I mean, a berry's not bad. But is a common thing that I hear when it comes to manga versus anime. Now, I am more of an anime person, which some people say that's not how you should do it. And that's fine. You know, I do read, if a show matters enough to me, I will read it. I read One Piece, I read Naruto back when it was the thing, like the shows, the long running ones, that it's like after every episode I'm like, I need to know what happens next. I'll read it. But otherwise, I'll just wait until it's animated. I don't know, I feel like a lot of times, especially if the animation company knows what they're doing, there's a lot more to be gained from the anime. And that's going to make a lot of people cringe by me saying that. And that's fine, because I mean it. You know, you gather a lot more, you know, from being able to visually see everything. You know, especially with color. Now, that's not to necessarily say that's the way it was intended. Because obviously there are times to where the animation company will not do stuff true to how it was supposed to be. But that's not what I'm talking about today. What I'm talking about today is, I have heard this a lot, and I will give an exact example. But I have heard a lot of people talk about how they'll read something, right? And see, the thing with reading, especially with reading manga, granted, it's more so when you're reading like an actual novel, but still can happen when you're reading manga, is the way information is presented to you is through words and through visual picture as well. In the case of, he's got a Firestone for us. In the case of, manga. Which, you know, does provide a lot of information. However, because of that, it still leaves a lot to your own imagination as to how something, you know, took place. You know, how something played out. And I feel like because of that, a lot of times people in their mind, and this is completely normal, but people will see something, you know, they're given the limited amount of information, and they will say to themselves in their head, okay, I believe, from the context clues that I was given, that this thing played out this way. Right? Like I said, that's normal. That's, you know, we're taught that in school to use context clues and inferential information to make educated guesses. That's normal. That's what we're supposed to do. But a lot of times, when they are then, especially in the form of manga to anime, when they see the anime and they see how the animation company, you know, animated it and played it out, if that thing is different from what they had originally envisioned in their head, the first thing they're going to say is they messed that up. To which, whenever I've had someone say that to me, I look at them and I say, how did they mess that up? And they say, well, it didn't happen like that in the manga. And I was like, okay, well, how did it happen in the manga? And I was like, well, they were here and then they were here. I was like, okay, so what did the anime do wrong? And they're like, well, they showed all the stuff in between. And I'm like, well, how is that wrong? You know? Now, that's very vague, but the exact example I'll give into you, and this is spoilers, but not spoilers. Like, it's no plot point or anything. It's just something that happens that once you get to that point in the show, you knew was going to happen. But in One Piece, there is a scene to where Luffy is on a mountain, right? He is on a mountain that's an undisclosed amount of distance from a town. Now, it is shown in many different shots that that distance is a pretty large distance. You know, not, you know, a couple steps, like 5 minutes of runtime type of distance, like a large gap. Well, you know, manga, because they usually only have like 15 to 25, it varies, but usually around the 18 to 20 mark. They only have that many pages to convey a certain amount of information. Obviously, they're not going to show the parts where they're traveling from point A to point B most of the time, unless something important happens during that time. Well, the event I'm talking about in particular is there's a scene to where Luffy is on a mountain, and then the big enemy, whose name is Kaido, is in the town, right? And Kaido does something from the town, visible to Luffy, that pisses Luffy off. It's less of like it pisses him off and more of like he breaks for a second and goes mental, right? Very kind of dramatic, serious. Now, from us as viewers, we all knew that the thing that happened wasn't that serious because plot armor and we know a little bit more. But that aside, very mad, right? And so, keep in mind, this guy Kaido is presented to us as the strongest man alive, which Luffy is not. He's the protagonist of a shonen anime, yes. But he is far from the strongest man alive. And that is fine. Because that's not where his strengths come in. I'm not going to talk about that, but just so you know the difference in power. Luffy cannot stand to Kaido. While this, at this point, has not been shown directly, we all know it. Because it has been told to us. You know, like literally, the narrator on several points says, in a one-on-one fight with Kaido, bet on Kaido. You know, because he is just that ungodly strong. But anyway, Kaido does something. Luffy gets pissed off. And in the manga, you see a shot of Luffy's, like, shocked, broken face. Then in the next panel, you see him leaping up into the air. And then in the next panel, you see him coming down, punching Kaido in the head. And then in the next panel, you see Kaido on the ground. Right? That was a lot that just happened. Now, you have to keep in mind. For one, Kaido is a dragon that is in the air. Like, way in the air. I don't mean just, like, hovering off the ground, but, like, in the air, right? So he's way up in the sky. On top of, he is currently a very large amount of distance from Luffy. But obviously, they're not going to show all that. All the travel. Especially since nothing happens during that travel. That's, you know, that wouldn't mean anything to draw. You know? So, people saw this, and everyone's thought process, which I can understand it, but everyone's thought process to it was, okay, Kaido did this, Luffy reacted so fast, so quickly, and so strong, and he struck Kaido down so quickly and so easily. Right? Which, from a story perspective, yeah, that sounds fucking awesome. You know, because Luffy's our protagonist. He's the one we've been following for 900 plus chapters at this point. Kaido just did some real fucked up shit. Luffy's pissed. Fuck yeah. You know, it was awesome to read. But then when it got animated, people got pissed. And they got pissed because they animated Luffy watching what happened. Luffy getting pissed and screaming out in anger. Luffy then running down the mountain and through the town and then jumping up into the sky and then coming down with all of his might, punching Kaido in the top of the head and struggling and pushing and putting all of his force and might and anger into this one punch just to get him down. And people were mad. They were like, that's not the way it was shown in the manga. Luffy was supposed to, he went from the mountain to the town and like, it was like that, you know, it happened literally in the next panel. You know, there was no this whole running sequence. And it's like, well, yeah, of course there's not going to be this whole running sequence. Oda's not going to draw 10 panels worth of all this running that Luffy had to do. But I can guarantee you he had to do it. He doesn't know instant transmission. He doesn't know teleportation jutsu. He can't even fly. You know? So yeah, he had a lot of space to cover. Sure, maybe they didn't need to animate it, but they did for their own greedy reasons. I'm not saying that was a good point, but what I'm saying is the fact that they animated all that space, all that running, they felt like that took away from the moment. And it's like, if that took away from the moment for you, that's because you have an attention span of 2 seconds. Because that running scene took all of 20 seconds. You know? I don't consider that to be a waste of time. I don't consider that to be something that took me out of the mood. It was the build-up, you know? You saw Luffy running. You knew what he was about to do. And I know they said that was their complaint. You know, it was like, well, in the manga, you didn't know. I'm like, yeah, but that's because the manga has that opportunity. they have that medium to where a lot of stuff's going to happen from panel to panel that you're not going to fully see drawn out. That's what manga does, you know? But the anime doesn't have that. You know, they have a 24-hour window. Or 24-minute window. You know, they don't have to be real succinct and quick. Whether or not they should, that's a different question for a different video. But they don't have to be. You know, so people were complaining about the length of it, which I thought was stupid. Because, like, what, you thought he just teleported? He was like, no, but I didn't want to see him running. I'm like, get over it. You know? Get the fuck over it. He's like, well, the manga portrayed him getting there so quick. I'm like, not necessarily. That's just what you inferred from the limited amount of information you have. This is gonna kill me. Critical hit. Critical hit. It was a crit. I'm not going to get super mad because I couldn't help that. It was a critical hit. Nothing I can do. Nothing I can do. Well, that sucks, doesn't it? God damn it. Oh, no, that's not good. But I've moved on. We've moved on together. Oh, that stings. But it still goes on. We can't wait here. We got a lot to do. You served your purpose. And we all salute you. And we'll have a quick moment of silence for you in honor. Alright. She has been remembered. But continuing with what I was saying. So that was their first complaint. And then their second complaint was the actual punch. They're like, well, in the manga, we saw Luffy in the air. And then we saw Luffy punch him in the face. And then we saw him hit the ground. And they were like, so that means Luffy was able to take Kaido down in one quick, concisive blow. And my whole thought to that was, how? That sounds cool, but how did he do that? We all know Luffy is not nearly strong enough to do that. We all know it. It's been shown to us. We've seen it directly. Huh. Well, all my sound just came back. But they're like, well, in the manga, it showed, you know, this, and this, which means that the way it happened was he just jumped up and hit him and down. I'm like, but that doesn't make any sense. How would Luffy, a man who is strong by all regards, but comparatively, we have been led to believe he's so much weaker, and he is, why would you think that's what happened? You know? And it's like, I can, at the same time I ask the question, but at the same time I understand it. You think that's what happened because that's what you read. And because you were not given the information of what happened in between those frames, you told yourself in your mind, okay, this is what I envisioned happen. And so therefore that became your reality. You know? And I hear a lot of people defend this thought with, well, that's what Oda intended, because that's what Oda drew. And maybe. But did you ever stop to think that maybe Oda drew it that way because he tried to convey a lot of stuff that happened in that chapter? And he didn't want to draw every single frame to show that, hey, it took a little bit. You know? Because that's the thing. People were like, oh, that was Eiichiro Oda trying to convey that Luffy has come such a long way and was able to knock him down in one shot. And it's like, yeah, that sounds good. But then you also have to take into consider, to where this is slight spoilers, I guess, but literally like the next chapter, Kaido one-shot Luffy, just dead. You know? Like, we saw Luffy throw so many punches at Kaido and it do nothing to him. And that was what we were introduced to. You know, that's what he was like. This is the main villain. This is who Luffy's got to be. And, well, he made a really good point of making sure we could tell, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that Luffy ain't got a fucking chance in hell. You know? He showed us that. And even having been given that information, people still defend it or, in a way, get mad at the anime about it. It was like, they did such a bad job. I'm like, no, they didn't. That scene, to me, was fucking awesome. It showed intensity. It showed scale. It allowed us to see that Luffy has come a long way. But there is still a long way to go. You know? And that's important, in my mind. You know? And once again, you can make the same argument about what I'm saying that I'm making about other people's arguments. That's how I inferred it. You know? And that's valid. I can't tell you you're wrong. That is how I infer it. But, once again, I'm not necessarily here saying the way I interpreted it is the absolute right way and the way you're interpreting it or other people have is the wrong way. What I'm saying is, people tend to infer something, and regardless of what we are shown later on that disproves our previous inference, we will stick to that inference. You know, I hear so many people come out and say, well, that's how Eiichiro Oda wanted it. It's like, but if you look at every single one of the fights in One Piece, most of them, at least from a manga perspective, are summed up somewhat quickly. You know, he doesn't ever draw out, you know, the scenes of the punch. You know, he draws one panel of the punch and then the next panel of the result. That's how most manga do it. Because that's how they have to do it. You know? If they were drawing every single frame like they were just making an anime, they might as well just make the anime. You know? And that's what kind of gets me riled up about it. It's like, Oda has never come out and said, oh yeah, the anime did it wrong, everyone should write. He never said that. In fact, to most of our knowledge, Oda approves of almost everything the anime has done. You know, now that's not to say, I'm not one of those like, oh yeah, the manga artist, you know, Oda has, you know, the final say over everything. He doesn't really, because he's given the licensing to Toei Animation, which I do have complaints about Toei. I'm not saying, oh, they do everything right. They do not. But I'm just saying, from a fan's perspective, I just don't understand how just because you infer something one way, you tell everyone else this is the way the author meant it to be. It's like, well, did he tell you that? Did he? If he did, cool. I didn't know you had a close friendship with him. You know, kind of jealous. You know, is there anything else you can inform me about? You know, but that's the thing. It's like, sure, that's what they write, but there's a lot of times to where manga artists in their final production will cut things short for the sake of spacing and time and meeting quota. That happens very frequently. I can't think of any exact examples right off the top of my head, but I mean, you can just do a quick search into it, and there's a lot of times to where stuff has to get cut to meet a deadline, you know, or to meet a page limit. That's a huge one. You know, most manga is about 20 pages, most chapters. You're having to fit a lot of information in those 20 pages. That can be very hard to do, especially if you're trying to give as much visual detail as possible. You know? And that's the thing I feel a lot of people don't quite understand. But, that whole thing aside, today's been a sad day. But I am going to end it here. Over the course between this video and the next one, I will figure out who will be our replacement. And I will get them trained up, at least a little bit. So, I will see you guys in the next video to continue tackling on this adventure. Bye-bye.